My scream woke me. A woman came hurrying toward me from the path, which ran just below the balconies. "Hoy, what's wrong?" I looked at her in confusion as she jumped up onto the balcony. "I think I had a nightmare. The heat's enough to give you one. You're Polly O'Keefe, aren't you?" "The heat's enough to give you one. You're Polly O'Keefe, aren't you? I'm Virginia Porchet." She pronounced it the French way, Porchet. "Oh, Mrs. Porchet, I love your writing." "Not Mrs. Porchet, Virginia, or V, as most people call me. We're all on a first-name basis here. You'll understand why when you hear the last names of some of the delegates. They make me understand why most people pronounce my last name as though it were the back porch. Simplify, simplify. And I understand you prefer being called Polly to Polyhymnia." I smiled at her. "Wouldn't you?" "I think you could probably carry Polyhymnia, but I sympathize, Polly. Clarisse tells me you'll be helping me with the writing workshop among your other chores." "Yes, anything I can do to help, anything at all. I expect there'll be a good deal. I hope this heat breaks. It's not at all seasonable. It's usually pleasantly warm during the day and cool at night by late September. Weather all over the world seems to be changing drastically. Why don't you come along to my room? Since I'm a workshop leader, I have the privilege of a room to myself. Clarisse will have a folder for you at the staff meeting, but I thought you might like a preview of the schedule." She was chatting away, giving me time to wake up, to move out of the horror of the nightmare. Virginia Bowen Porchet, one of my favorite writers, who wrote novels about people who are flawed but with whom you could identify, dealing with all aspects of the human being, the dark as well as the light, but never leaving you in a pit of despair. And in the simplest possible words and images, she wrote poems which seemed almost light on the surface. And then, when you backed away from them, the fact that they were neither light nor simple kicked you in the teeth. Max compared Porchet's work to Mozart. When I told Miss Zalowski that Virginia Porchet was leading a workshop, that in itself was enough to get Miss Zalowski to urge the principal to let me take a month away from school. And here, Virginia Porchet was asking me to call her by her first name, and looking well. Now that I had recovered enough from the nightmare to look at her, I saw that she had red hair, not blatantly red like mine. It was much more subtle, but still it was red. She had green eyes, really green, as my eyes are really blue. Wore a full cotton skirt with a tiny millefiori print and a peasant blouse. Meeting one of your favorite writers in the world can be scary. It's so easy to be let down, but I felt elated. I liked her as well as admired her, and she had red hair. Her room was almost identical to mine. One of the twin beds was covered with books and papers, my filing system. She picked up a blue folder, opened it, and handed it to me. I looked at the typed schedule. 3 workshops in the morning, with an hour before lunch for swimming, an hour for lunch, an hour for rest, and 3 more workshops in the afternoon. The evening meal, an evening program, a full schedule indeed. The writing workshop was the first one of the day, at 9 in the morning. "This weather knocks out swimming at noon." Virginia Porchet sat on her bed, indicating the desk chair for me. "It's a 20-minute walk to the sea, and it's much too hot under the broiling noonday sun. I've been taking my swim at bedtime, but Clarisse won't be able to come with me now that the staff is all here. He'll have his hands full. This is a glorious place for a conference, isn't it?" I nodded, looking around the room. On one of the desks was a picture of a man with dark hair and a kind, sensitive face. He must be her husband. He looked like the right kind of person to be married to one of my favorite writers. My sister-in-law, who's holding the fort at home, asked, "Why Cyprus?" I told her it's more or less a mean point geographically for the delegates. But also, if the conference were being held in, say, Detroit, I wouldn't have accepted the invitation to lead a workshop. Clarisse says you've had a week in and around Athens? Yes, the Iliad and the Odyssey, all the Greek myths. Everything means much more to me than it did. I'm overawed. That's a good reaction. So am I. No matter how many times I come to Greece or the islands, I'm swept out of the limited world of technology and into the wilderness of gods and into the wildness of gods and goddesses and centaurs and nymphs. We'll have a full moon this weekend, and you'll understand anew why the moon has so often been an object of worship. The moon goddess, beneficent while she is waxing, Harsh, well, she is waning. Astarte fascinates me. She was a Syrian goddess, but her worship spread to Greece. Aphrodite is, I guess, her Greek counterpart, though she isn't as much associated with the moon. So how is Ursula Herschel? That startled me. Fine, I guess. You know her? I'm one of her more remarkable miracles. I had an aneurysm which would have been inoperable before microsurgery, and even with all science now known, it was a risky business. It was a long surgical procedure and a very long recovery, and Ursula and I became friends. And then, of course, I met Max. I thought through Urs and Max, I met Chris Gose when he was in New York. A conference like this tends to be very small-worldy. You're here because of Max, aren't you? Yes. Beneficent while waxing, harsh while waning. How old are you? Nearly 17. I'm a slow developer. Virginia Porcher stretched out long, suntanned legs, wiggling her toes under her sandal straps. I was too. Still am. Some people say that we slow developers end up going further than the quick flowering ones. I nodded. I hoped she was right. Are you interested in writing? I don't think so. I enjoy it, but I'm not passionate about it. I like acting, really a lot, but I know it's an awfully chancy field. What I'm best at is languages, but I don't want to be a teacher, and I don't think I want to be a simultaneous translator at the UN because I am an island girl. Manhattan is an island. Oh, I guess I mean small islands with low-density population. She laughed a nice, warm laugh. Not at all at me. You still have time. Sometimes it's not an advantage to have too many talents. She reached down to scratch a bite on her leg. Watch out for the bugs here. They're not bad during the day, but they're monstrous at night, and they love American blood. I'm pretty used to bugs, I said. Beniceid Island's off South Carolina, so I'm used to heat too. You'll find, she nodded, when the delegates arrive that you'll be spending these next weeks with people who have experienced a great deal of life under conditions where personal freedom, as we know it, is hardly even a dream. When I fuss because the bathwater here is tepid, it chastens me when I remember that some of the delegates don't even have indoor plumbing. This dormitory building is going to seem wildly luxurious to most of them. She stood up. I've got work to do now before we meet at 5. By the way, a word of warning. I paused by the door. The tap water here is quite saline, and you won't be able to drink much of it. And this heat that clamped down on us today isn't supposed to let up for a while. There's a little shop outside the monastery gates and up the hill where you can buy sodas. And if you have any other questions, trivial or cosmetic, don't hesitate to ask me. Thanks, I said, still feeling too shy about calling Virginia Bowen Porcher by her first name to call her anything. Thanks a lot. I took the master key and made up the beds in 3 more rooms. Even though I opened the windows, I was still streaming with sweat. So I went back to my room and sat down at the desk to record meeting Virginia Bowen Porcher in my journal for Miss Zalowski. And we'll pause there.